My dear friends, I'm a maxillofacial surgeon who is interested in surgical correction of the facial deformities. That is, naturally, I'm interested in the face and beauty. And I did a little research on the evolution of beauty and face. And I found that the brain case is increasing and the entire skull is in the evolutionary process getting a little more beautiful in the human sense. So let us start. Charles Robert Darwin, who lived between 1809 and 1882, is a great biologist, one of the greatest person who has lived in that century, 19th century, and who has changed the biology totally. And he is a person who has proposed a theory of evolution. Along with him, Alfred Russel Wallace, who is also a biologist, he was also able to come out with this almost the same theory. Natural selection is something which is the reason for speciation or the evolution to a higher being. So this theory has been presented in the Linnean Society by both of them together. And after 1 year, in 1859, Charles Darwin was a person who has done a research and who has traveled in a ship called Beagle and who has traveled extensively especially in the Galapagos Islands, where he was able to find very peculiar and very unique species as well. So he, after all his studies, now he has come out with a book called On the Origin of Species, and that is in 1859. This book has become an instant success that says about the evolution of life in our planet. In 1871, Charles Darwin wrote a letter to Joseph Dalton Hooker, suggesting that life might have started in a warm little pond with all sorts of chemicals like ammonia and phosphoric salts. Light, heat, and electric discharges might have acted on the compounds to form a protein, which later underwent more complex changes to form life. When I say this, we have to understand that we do not know how the life originated in this planet. This planet had all the conditions, favorable conditions for the life to form. Basically, carbon, hydrogen, and other elements, especially phosphorus, as I had said, for ammonia, phosphoric acid, all these things were the elements that is required for creation of life. I'm not going into that details, but a study by Miller and Miller, they were able to produce the basic building blocks of life in the laboratory. So that was a research to find out how life started here. So this is basically the concept Charles Darwin also had. And there is another person called Parin, who is a scientist from Russia, who is considered to be Charles Darwin of the 20th century. And he also thinks that there was a progression of matter from matter, life emerged. And when we say about the life originated in the planet, somewhere around 3.6 billion years ago, and formed as a small single-celled prokaryote, then it became a eukaryote, and then complex organisms, so the multicellular organisms were formed. And it was first of all worms and all those things like, and then later the vertebrates formed, to whom we also belong. And I'm going to say about the evolution of the vertebrates. It is something like somewhere around 550 million years ago only, the vertebrates started swimming in the ocean or in the water, what I would say. That is the fish. And fish gradually progressed into amphibian, that is the creature, that is our routine frog, and other amphibians. which were able to live in the water as well as in the lands. From the amphibians, the reptiles emerged. Dinosaurs also are reptiles, but there were huge dinosaurs to small dinosaurs as well. And somewhere around, well, I will tell you, somewhere around 65 million years ago, dinosaurs became extinct because of an AKT event. Dinosaurs were formed from the ordinary reptiles somewhere around 240 million years ago. And then from there, two different species, one is the animal and the other is bird, which emerged from the dinosaurs. That is, one emerged with a mammal. The mammal is somewhere around 200 million years ago, and somewhere around 250 million years ago, the birds found from the dinosaurs. The primates evolved somewhere around 60 million years ago, and we, the modern, somewhere around 25 million years ago, our ancestors Homo started living in this planet. And we modern humans started living in this planet only somewhere around 200,000 years ago. We have got a very, very small history. And within another 150 years, because of our technological advancements, artificial intelligence, eugenics, and such things, we may be, sometimes there may be cyborgs may develop. We may incorporate artificial intelligence into us and cyborgs. Or sometimes there may be artificial intelligence, artificial robots only, which probably is going to control our planet and control us as well. Now, such an excellent parallel of evolution is being described in the Indian mythology. That is the 10 incarnations of Lord Vishnu. The first is fish. The next one is a tortoise. That is Malsya Kurma Varahasya Narasimhacha Vamana Ramu Ramacha Ramacha Krishna Kalki Janardana. That is what it is said. Malsya, naturally we have already seen. Then tortoise, the amphibian. Then Varaha, that is the pig, that's a lowly mammal. And the next one is half man, half animal. That is Narasimha, man and lion. And the next one is bushman, that is dwarf, that is Vamana. Now come to Parashurama, he has got an axe. His reach is up to the bottom of a tree. Or probably he is a woodcutter, or must be a herbivorous ancestor of ours. And any instrument for that matter, which is sometimes called a extracorporeal limb. And the next one is interesting. Now it is our stage of development into a hunter-gatherer. That is Sri Rama, who has got a bow and arrow. He can hunt with his armament. The next one is probably, I would consider it's a very, very important. Balarama, who has got a plow as his tool. And you can use a plow only for tilling. That means he has become an agriculturalist for that matter. So a cultural evolution starts from there, from hunter-gatherer to the farmer. And the next one, Krishna, he should be considered a big politician. Look at his chakra, that is his Ayuda. That is something like a cruise missile which can hunt down a target. He was a statesman, a very, very, very politician, and a great lover as well. And the last one is to come in the Kali Yuga. In the Yuga in which we are, that is Kalki. Kalki is the last incarnation which is yet to come. He comes for the annihilation, total annihilation. And probably he is going to see that the extinction of the end of this planet or the universe, and then that is what is called a kalpadam, and then its recycle starts from there. Well, there are so many examples, so many evidences can be quoted for the evolution. One is comparative embryology. Just from here, you can see the fish. In the fish has got, and in the early stages, the embryo of the fish and the embryo of the human looks almost the same, almost the same. We cannot differentiate. In the next stages, slight differences might have come. But you see, this is the second part, which is here shown, is mammals. Mammals, when it comes, the similarity is comparatively extended almost to the last stages. But only in the very, very last stage, during the early time, only the difference is more pronounced. It is a study of an organism from fertilized egg to its natural adult form. Comparative anatomy, for that matter, that is another example, another evidence that most of the mammals have got almost the same number of bones arranged a slightly different manner, but we have got even not only man, monkey, dog, sheep, and horse, even the arboreal, or some, I mean the bats, as well as the aquatic mammals like dolphin and whales also have got almost the same number of bones like we humans have got. That is actually very, very surprising and very revealing. Actually, I would put it that way. When you say about the physiology, biochemistry, and genetics, something which we have to understand is that the plants also have got chromosomes. The humans have got chromosomes. So all the living beings have got chromosomes, and the DNA is arranged in a particular manner like this with the nucleotides compared to that. The chromosome structure of the chromosome and the basic genetic makeup or constitution of the genes is in the same in the plants as well as in the animals, in the birds, and in any living organism for that matter. The evolution of the brain is another very interesting, because what I have pushed this face, beauty, and brain. I cannot completely avoid brain, because when I'm talking about the beauty, the cranium is also important. That is why I have put brain also in this talk. Well, first of all, it was action potential. And then it is nerve net, and that is in the Z anemone, like coelentrates. And then starfish, here it is a radial nerve, and nerve rings are formed there. And now when you come to lower forms of flies, all these things like worms, they have got something like a ventral nerve cord is there. And this is a brain for them. And these are the ganglia and all those things. Like, I'm not going into the details of that. But when it comes to the vertebrates, you have got a dorsal nerve cord and the spine. So now come to the vertebrate brain evolution. We can see that it has got the three parts for the brain. That is hindbrain, midbrain, and the forebrain. These are the three parts which is there for the brain. See, this hindbrain and the midbrain, that's cerebellum, and the base of base of the brain stem is almost proportional to the body size. So probably for a large animal, that particular it is maybe large. For a small animal, it may be smaller in size. That is the pilot. And then when it comes to the cerebrum, that is the forebrain, it is totally different. In fish and lower forms of animals, it is comparatively small. From the fish, it has become comparatively larger in the case of amphibians, and the reptile, it is still larger. Bird also, it is still larger. And when it comes to the mammal, you have got a comparatively bigger one. And there are a lot of grooves and ridges there that increases the surface of the brain, and the neurons are on the surface, and mammals have got somewhere around 6 layers of neurons. Their upper layer is almost 6 layers, and neurons are attached, are on the surface basically. That is why we have got a comparatively bigger brain, not because of the cerebellum or the base or the hindbrain, but because of the cerebrum. Paul MacLean has done an evolutionary study of the brain, and he has proposed something like a triune brain, 3 parts of the brain. That is, one is a reptilian brain, that is the red part which you see here, and that is the base that contains the brainstem, basal ganglia, cerebellum, and they control the heart rate, breathing, and temperature balance of the body. And limbic system is that the yellow part which has been shown here. This is not actually only a diagrammatic representation or to show you exactly the triune brain. And the limbic brain, that is basically the mammalian brain, which is the memories, emotions, and behavior, hypothalamus, amygdala, etc., are situated in that region. And the next one is the neocortex. Neocortex is something, it is called a neo-mammalian brain that is formed in the higher forms of the mammals, especially in the humans. It is also called neopallium. Neopallium, pallium means the bark actually. Latest part, it is the latest part of the brain to evolve. And this part gives language, abstraction, planning, and perception. We humans have got. That is very, very interesting that we have probably the higher forms of animals have got only the language or communication skills. They can plan, they have got memories, all these things are there in the neocortex. This is the iceberg structural and topographical model of the mind proposed by Freud. It has got three layers, that the conscious, preconscious, and subconscious layers. In the conscious is present world, where actually the operates based on the reality principle. Current thoughts and perceptions are there. In the preconscious, conscious mind is a stored knowledge and memory, some which we can retrieve to the conscious level and present. And unconscious is something which we are not able to retrieve actually. It is completely submerged underneath. So another three parts of the behavior, in our behavior, we have got ego, id, and superego. Id is the most primitive part, and that is actually almost related to our instincts, and it's controlled the basic needs. And what happens is that it has got no morality. It is only concerned about our existence, our living, our comforts. That is why I have shown is something like a demon here. It is just acts on instincts. And then there is superego. Ego, I will come later. Superego. Superego is there in the conscious level, pre-conscious level, and the subconscious level. It is the morality principle. It lives in the society. It is concerned about our kins, our relations, our society, and some moral principles, and how we have to be in the society, behave in the society, is being said by the superego. But naturally, it is very selfish, and superego is slightly the opposite way with moral principles, and so naturally there is a conflict between the superego and id, and this is being controlled by the ego. That ego is something which have a compromise and controls our behavior. So what happens is that it acts on the reality principle. That means what is real, it is a compromise between. That is why it is sometimes said that ego is a chariot being drawn by superego and id in different forces, pulling it in different directions. So ego is usually always on stress. This is another thing, our psychological development. Abraham Maslow is the person who has come out with this particular theory, that hierarchy of needs. Well, it's quite understandable. The physiological needs, which is again id and instinct, that is your breathing, food, water, sex, sleep, homeostasis, excretion, etc. All these are the basic biological principle, which is very, very important for the sustenance of life. These are being controlled, as you have seen, it is controlled by the reptilian brain. That is the basic brainstem and cerebellum. And safety needs also, it is being controlled, that is security of food, employment, etc. That is also there in the instinct part and controlled by the id. Now, belonging, friendship, family, sexual intimacy, etc. That is the next one in the development. This is something which is very important, and it is living in the, it is related with the superego and our mammalian brain. And esteem, self-esteem, confidence, achievement, etc. are there in the neocortex, that is the neo-mammalian brain. And now when they come to the morality, creativity, spontaneity, problem solving, all these things, self-actualization, to be very specific, it is being defined in such a way that what you can become, you should become. That is the basic principle of self-actualization. According to Maslow himself, what he says is that only achieving all these other four stages of a psychological evolution, only you will be able to come to self-actualization. Some people object to that. But another important thing is that only 1% of the population will be able to reach its self-actualization level. That is what it is being said. Maslow himself says so. So again, coming back to Charles Darwin, opined in his book, The Descent of Man, which he has published in 1871. Actually, it is said that he was a little scared of the church. That may be the reason why he has taken such a long time after 1859 to come out with this book, The Descent of Man. Of course, after publishing this book, there are so many criticisms on him. But however, and he says that, we must acknowledge, as it seems to me, that man, with all his noble qualities, with sympathy, which appeals for the most debased, with the benevolence which extends not only to the other men, but to humblest living creature, with his godlike intellect, which had penetrated into the movements and constitution of the solar system. With all these exalted powers, man still bears in his bodily frame the indelible stamp of his lowly origin. Yes, we have developed from a lower form. And mind you, we had a common ancestor somewhere around 25 million years ago. And 18 million years ago, we had a common ancestor. And at that time, the lesser apes actually migrated or separated from us. We had a common ancestor with the lesser apes, mind you. And from there, lesser apes are separated and we are going up. And somewhere around 12 million years ago, we have separated from the great apes, that is orangutan. And afterwards, still progression. And we are following this path from here. Great apes are separated from us. We are coming in this way. And 7 to 8 million years ago, we have separated from another type of great apes, that is something like gorilla. So we should call gorilla as our second cousin. Or I would say the first cousin. 5 to 7 million years ago, we have separated out from the great ape group, that is the chimpanzee and the bonobos. And now we are separated from there, and then we migrated to the modern human through our ancestors. So what would we say is that, chimpanzee is our brother, and gorilla is our cousin. Actually, Jared Diamond, in his books, The Third Chimpanzee, he says that, the bonobos and chimpanzees are to be included into our group. And it's instead of Vankini, they have to be called as Homo. That is what his opinion. That is why he has called the human being, the modern man, as the third chimpanzee, rather than wanted to call us a third chimpanzee rather. So that is why I said that, probably chimpanzees should be considered as our brothers. This is just the evolution chart. Australopithecus hanamensis, I've said that Ardipithecus ramidus, probably a common thing. And then from there, Australopithecus africanus, where the Lucy is there. And like that, it's a Homo habilis, Homo ergaster, and Homo antecessor. And from the erectus, from here, it goes into Homo erectus. And well, there is a little controversy here, whether we have come up from the Homo erectus or we have separated out from the Homo antecessor into Homo sapiens. Anyway, Homo erectus, Heidelberg's, Neanderthals, etc. These are the latest form. See, here, the Ardipithecus, I'm coming to that a little later in a little bit more detail. Now, let us consider how the evolution of the faces, that is our main topic here today, evolution of the brain, face, and beauty. This is the evolution of the fish. from here, slowly, an amphibian and then a reptile. You look at its skull, it has got a very small brain, and the jaw is even used for almost all the purposes, like like breathing also, the fishes do with its jaws. By moving it, closing it, and opening it, the water is being taken in. I need not go into the details about, and the water is pushed out through the gills, and the gills do the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. Okay. When it comes to the amphibian, amphibian can live in the water as well as in the land. The lungs have started developing. Coming to the reptile, it is one of the most beautiful animals in this planet. Look at what beautiful it is. Sometimes only a few of the reptiles are poisonous. And look at its teeth. It is curved inside. Something which enters the mouth cannot easily escape. Aerodynamic skeleton of a bird, and the skull has increased. We have seen that in the vertebrate evolution. I have shown that the brain size or the cortex size, the neocortex of the bird is comparatively larger than any relatively larger than any amphibian, fish, or reptile. Now coming to the mammal. Mammal, the brain size has started increasing. Definitely this is a predator and this is a prey. Prey is like herbivorous animals. This is the carnivorous. And the carnivore animals have got a comparatively larger brain. And another important thing is that they have got a very long canines, and the herbivores has got very large molars to chew. And one more thing is that, these animals, especially the carnivores, they use their jaw to carry, to fight, all these things. Most of the functions are there with their jaws. Now from there, they developed into primates. Here, one important thing that has happened is that, they're able to release their forelimbs from the ground to some extent, though they are walking in forelegs, but they were able to release and use their hands for some purpose. And one another important thing, look at their eyes. And any previous form, any animals, cattle and all those previous forms of animals, mammals, the eyes were there on the sides. So there is no stereoscopic vision. There is no three-dimensional vision, only single dimension. So when the eyes were pushed to the front, they got stereoscopic vision, which is very important for using a tool. The brain case, look at the brain case, it has increased. Capuchins, again, and great apes, powerful muscles they have got. That is the reason why there is a crest here. There is something like a crest here on their skull. This area is basically to give support, give house the temporalis muscle, which is very important for chewing. They've got a powerful jaws, and they have to break open all these things. The ramus, the mandible is also very thick. There is a penthouse-like brow ridge. Zygomatic bone is also comparatively very, very big. Maxilla and the mandible, this is the upper jaw and the lower jaw, are comparatively big. When it comes to the bonobos, the jaw size is comparatively reduced in size. Still, they have got something like a penthouse-like brow ridge, but it has become almost rotund, the cranium, and the volume of the brain has increased. It is a pygmy chimps, and they are very promiscuous. They are multi-male and multi-female, matriarchal in system. And it is said that they were the first species to use sex for pleasure. Common chimp, they are also very promiscuous. And they share 98.4% of the genes with us. They are tool users and have an expressive face. Yes, Ororintugensis. That is one of our early ancestors, which lived somewhere around 6 million years ago. Ardipithecus ramides, that is 4.4. Then, like that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have almost 7 ancestors we had. From there, and from there 2.5 million years, we have got another somewhere around 7 million ancestors. It seems that somewhere around 3 million, we usually consider uh, Australopithecus africanus, afarensis, as our ancestor Lucy. I will come to that a little later. No, this is Ardipithecus, their lifestyle. They can live, they're arboreal, and at the same time, they can walk also. See, what happened is that, during that period, Miocene period, there was the climate changes has made many forest land into grasslands. Forests has been destroyed because of the climatic changes, and naturally, many of the apes which are arboreal had to come down to the ground and live there. So when they are living in the ground, there are few important things which has happened. They cannot just go on walking on their four legs, knuckle walking. It's not very fast. So they have to stand up. Their brain has increased. So they have to stand up to view, to get a prey, also to get escape from a prey, they have to run faster. To run faster, it is better to run in 2 legs. And so naturally they have to stand up. When they stood up, there are so many things has happened. Their head, which has been forward, it has come forward. And their cranial capacity has started increasing. The hair on their body has started decreasing because when they have to run, there is a lot of sweat is being produced. And if there is a hair is there naturally, and moreover, the body is not when it is there, when they are parallel to the ground, a lot of heat will be there. Sun will be there on their body. But when it stays standing straight, the sun will not fall on their body. So these are also some of the theories why we have lost the hair, why we are still keeping a hair on our head, our scalp. All these things, there are so many theories about it. And this is anamensis, and cranial capacity has increased from 360 to 375. And affarensis, Lucy. And the brain size this is supposed to be our ancestor. This Lucy, 3.6 million to 2.9 million years ago, considered it to be our earliest grandmother. And Platyops means, they have got a flat face, that is meaning of the term. And Africanus has got 400 to 500 cc, they live. So it is almost every 500,000 Ethiopians, and Bosei 500 to 550. You can see that their period 2.3 to 1.3 million years, and again 2.3 to 1.6 Homo habilis. Homo habilis means skillful man. He is the one who has started using tools or making tools, not just using tools. Using tools might have been there a little earlier, but making tools has come with Homo habilis. That is why he is called a skillful man. His brain size is 550 to somewhere around 680 cc. And well, many of our ancestors were contemporaries. But I would say that they have not erupted separately, but it's probably a migration or just evolution or progression from the previous form to the newer form. That is what it shows, and they did not use their tools for any hunting, but for mainly for scavenging, that it is being said. But when it came to Homo erectus, that is 1.3 to 0.3 million years ago, they was using javelin-like things, and fire has been used there for cooking. All these things were used by the Homo erectus. So they actually started hunting, and they were also navigation. That is, they used rafts to travel in the river, as well as from continent to continent they migrated. Homo heidelbergensis has got a 600 to 100,000 years ago. They started living. They are almost human, but look, they have got a comparatively very big broad ridge and their face is comparatively prominent, prognatic when compared with ours. And this is the skull, which is the fossil skull, which is there. And they have started using some dresses also, something like mainly from the animal skin. They were good hunters, and their brain size was almost 1,100 to 1,400, almost similar to ours. And Neanderthals that is another another ancestor of ours. We cannot say that they are ancestors. Actually, from Homo erectus, probably there are two branches, because I told you that they were the people who has migrated. They have migrated from different parts of the world, different from Africa to different parts like Asia, Europe, and even China. They have migrated, and in because of separation, according to the climatic changes, there was slight changes was happened in their body. And that is why Neanderthal, Heidelberg, all those things were living almost contemporaries, but living in different parts. And finally, when the Homo sapiens also developed in that in the Africa, and the Neanderthals, it is said that they had somewhere around 1,600 cc of brain size. Again, Cro-Magnon man also, they have a brain size of 1,600, a contemporaries to that Neanderthal. And it is said that sometimes either they have merged together when they came together, when they migrated, Homo sapiens migrated to the Europe continent, and they have either joined with them, combined with them, intermarriages, and they became a single group, or they might have killed them. And it is we sometimes said that climatic changes, the Neanderthals might have become extinct. But right now, we have got somewhere around 3 to 4% of the Neanderthal genes with us. So many people think that there was a merging of two variants of the two different races of humans into one. Now, some changes which has happened in the look at this. This is the our pre-human ancestors: long arms, bent legs, skull, and the foramen magnum, through which the spinal cord comes out, is much posterior. When it came to the humans, it is our arms becomes comparatively shorter, legs become straight because it has to, when you stand, straight. And another important thing is I look at the pelvis. This is something like a longer, and it is compressed and become comparatively broader. Hands, tarsier, baboon, and orangutan, the thumb has become almost in the human. An opposable thumb is very, very important. The other one is just mainly meant for holding, and the opposable thumb is for making tools. So these are the changes that has happened. Look at the difference in the phases of our pre-human ancestors. From here to here, progression has taken place. Homo habilis, Neanderthal, Cro-Magnon, etc. And this is the way how it has happened. Jaw size, if I say that, because I had to say something about the jaw size because we are talking about the face as well. See, in the early forms, it was almost in the chimpanzee and the gorilla, it is parallel. Molars were parallel. But when it came to Australopithecus, the brain size, because the brain size increased, naturally the width of the bone in the temporal region, that is the joint region, has become comparatively larger. So naturally this area is pushed to the side. That is why it has become something like this. And when it came to the human, it was still rather wide. And this will be the human. This is almost parallel. This is U-shaped. And this is almost becoming something like a V. Increase in the brain size is also very, very, very interesting. See, in the Homo habilis, the brain size is somewhere around 850, 600 something. When it came to Homo erectus, and it has become 850 to 1,100 in the latest forms. And from here onwards, the rise of the brain volume has been so profound. It is almost very steep rise. And with the Homo sapiens, we have got somewhere 1,400. And Homo sapiens sapiens is actually the Cro-Magnon man. Homo sapiens Neanderthals is 1,600, and that is the type of increase that has happened. But Homo sapiens, though they had a comparatively bigger size than us, they became extinct. And 1,400, 350 to 450 is our brain volume of we humans. This is something a very, very interesting thing, which is a modification of a graph which Carl Sagan has given in his book, Dragons of Eden. I will just read this. From the amphibians, the information in the genome is much more than the information in the brain. But it is the opposite in mammals and the maximum in humans. So if you observe the graph, we find that the transition took place in a reptile here. You just see the reptiles here and here. See, in the reptile, probably the bits of information in the brain is much more than the bits of information that is stored in the genes. So that means the stress of evolution has from the physical, it has changed from physical to intellectual. One very, very interesting thing is, according to the Bible, the fruit of knowledge was given to Eve by a snake. We can appreciate that from then on, the focus of evolutionary threats was more on the brain than on the body. So should we call the snake our teacher? That is the one who has given us knowledge. Well, attractiveness, there are so many quotes which can say about attractiveness. If everything were cast in the same mold, there would be no such thing as beauty. That is what Charles Darwin said. There are certain, these are the criteria for sexual selection. Sexual selection is sexual selection means selecting a partner for your life or for reproduction. Attractiveness is an important criterion. That, of course, Charles Darwin also considered that. And fitness is another important thing. And there are characteristics which are helpful for survival. Nancy Adcock writes in her book, The Survival of the Fittest, prettiest rather, not fittest. In the animal world, gaudy plumages and body ornaments emerge at sexual maturity and reserve their highest colors for courting displays. Caterpillars turn into butterflies, and peachicks explode into psychedelic colors of the peacock when it is time to reproduce. Flowers are alluring land strips for pollinating insects. They are the plant world's sex or objects. Throughout the natural world, beauty is the harbinger of sexual reproduction. Well, what is the relationship between the reproduction and beauty? Reproduction, initially when in the bacteria or in the single cell, there was no death for that cell. The death was only by accident or by some calamity. Otherwise, it just divides. That is called the binary fission. And then there was a conjugation where the two cells join together, exchange their genes or chromosomes, and then again divide. That is conjugation. Vegetative reproduction, many of the plants, what you do, we can just cut a piece of the plant and then plant it. That will become a new plant, but there is no variety. It is exactly the same thing. The ultimate structure, chromosome, genes, etc. are the same. The tactic of sexual reproduction was a quantum leap in the track of evolution. This brought about the selection of a better partner to produce a fitter offspring. The impetus for evolution. The attractiveness became an important criterion for selecting a partner. Beauty. External features representing health, vitality, and intelligence by default became attractive. So during the evolutionary process, attractive features got incorporated into fitness. The survival of the fittest came to be akin to the survival of the pretty. Plenty of beauty quotes are there. The most important one, most quoted one, is probably what Shakespeare said in Merchant of Venice. Beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. John Keats said, a thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its loveliness increases. It will never pass into nothingness. But we scientists, architects, and some of the artists as well may not be able to complete, especially the painters and people who draw. They cannot just simply wing it off by saying that beauty is purely subjective. It might be having something objective about it. So a research, especially by Phidias, is a person who has a great architect who has been decided this, come out with its high proportion. That is, these two lines, when it is divided at this point, that is a minus b is equal to b, a divided by b is equal to b divided by c is equal to 1.618. b by divided by a and c divided by is 0.618. This is the actual proportion, that is 1 is to 1.618 is to 0.618 is supposed to be the beauty proportion. This is fundamentally seen, this particular proportion is seen in nature and even in mathematics. This is what is called the Fibonacci series. Two adjacent numbers are being 0 and 1 is added, you get 1. 1 plus 1 added, you get 2. 2 plus 1, 3. This is what is called the Fibonacci series. And the latter number divided by the former number, you get 1.6. Here also in the reverse, you get 0.6. So this is seen in maths as well. In a Nautilus shell, you can see this with this shell and the adjacent shell, the proportion is 1 is to 1.618. And this particular thing is seen in sunflower, rose flower, etc. So in the nature also it is abundantly seen. That is why this is sometimes called golden proportion, or sometimes some people would like to call it a divine proportion. Well, beauty, if you say beauty, and I would say that the beauty has evolved gradually. Well, what is the function of the beauty, I'm not able to say, but I feel that in the beauty or this proportion, which is more good for the function, is always considered beautiful in our eyes. Look at somewhere around 60 million years ago, the horse was looking like this, the bottom one. Eohippus, it was called then. Then slowly it evolved to the modern horse, and look at it. It's taller, stouter, with its head high up, while here it is downward looking. So this is the change that has happened. Look at the common elephant. So 38 million years ago, the elephant was like this, and somewhere 2 million years, because of the ice age, they were all completely covered with fur, and they were mammoths. And from there, two types has developed, two species. One is the African elephant, and one is the Asian elephant, both looking more elegant and gracious. Parthenon is constructed by Phidias, and the Greek recognized this defined proportion by it as a dividing line in the extreme and mean ratio, and used it for the beauty and balance in the design of architecture. Parthenon. Michelangelo's seduction and expulsion of Adam and Eve has been drawn in this proportion. Da Vinci, Last Supper is also drawn in that way. Attractiveness, when you say that, if you have got a high forehead, that means you have got a bigger frontal lobe, which is the seat of intelligence. So we consider a high forehead as better intelligence. And if you select such a person as your partner, as a mate, then there is a chance that you get a brighter offspring. Large breast gives an impression that there is more milk to feed the child, and the child can become healthy. So large breast is considered to be attractive. And the pelvic bone or the hip region, if it is large, that means the pelvis is comparatively wider. A wider pelvis will be able to accommodate a larger head of, a, of the child or the fetus. Large head means a better intelligence, and then it is a bright offspring. So wide buttocks are considered to be attractive. This happened when humans stood erect. And one other important thing that I wanted to say here is that though our brain has increased in size proportion much faster, our body evolution has not taken place in that fast. So what happened is that, that is one of the reasons why there is a lot of child mortality during childbirth for the mother as well as for the child. But for the animals, delivery is not labor, is not painful. But for humans, it is a very, very painful thing. Probably in the Bible, again, I would like to quote the Bible, that when Adam and Eve has been pushed out of the Eden, then he cursed the woman that you will deliver with pain. Now coming to the mythology, this is Mary Magdalene, and this is Raha. These are all from history, from the Bible, and the beautiful people. And Radha had a very, very, very big love affair with Krishna, incarnation of Vishnu. And this is from Greek mythology. There is Helen of Troy, face that launched 1,000 ships. Cleopatra from history, and Pascal. They say Basil Pascal has said, if her nose was shorter, the history of the world would have been different. Venus, again from mythology, she is supposed to be the goddess of love. And this is the beautiful faces from the different parts of the world. The most beautiful the woman ever lived is supposed to be Marilyn Monroe, and a beauty that bewitched power, and two beautiful wonders. Well, now may for a short while come to my field, that is surgical correction of facial deformities. Before doing a surgery, you have to assess what is the deformity there on the face, exactly pinpoint which part of the face is not proportional or which part of the face has got the problem. So we have developed the maxillofacial surgeons, or the aesthetic surgeons for that matter, has developed certain proportions, plastic surgeons as well. So here from the hairline, this is called the glabella, and the subnasal, and this is thin. So face can be divided into 3 equal parts. So this is the normally, this is the equal. And from subnasal, that is the root of the columella, to the stomion, that is where the 2 lips meet. It is half of this one, the lower part, from stomion to the chin, half of this one. So again, these are certain other things, here the labio-mental fold, this fold, that gives a little definition for the face. And probably we humans, only Homo, we humans only have got this particular feature, because a prominent chin is a very, very special feature of the humans. And here, one of the most important things that again, from the tip of the nose to the chin, and this is what we usually take into consideration. I'm not going into details. This is to measure the prominence of the nose. But just to give you a rough idea how we analyze the beauty. And this is, I just wanted to show you some of the cases, which is my cases, which has been corrected to cut the facial asymmetry. This young engineer had a comparatively very large hemifacial hypertrophy, that is what we call it. This particular part is comparatively larger. So I had to correct it, and I just removed it because its condyle was compared. That's neck of the jaw was comparatively big. I reduced the size of it, and then this was his appearance later. And this girl had very excessive maxilla. She was not able to close her lips. Her maxilla, the upper jaw, was very prominent and protruded. So I did surgery on her, and this is her appearance later. This is another girl. I'm just giving a clear representation. One with the lower jaw is very prominent, and this is a post-operative result. What are the changes that has taken place during the evolutionary process? I have already discussed about it. I'm not going into the details. The brain case, brain here, the brain volume, the cranium has become comparatively larger. Here, face has become smaller. So finally, what it is being said that many anthropologists say that the brain case is expanding at the expense of the jaws. Simply means that the jaws size is reducing and the brain case is expanding, that the brain volume is increasing. Well, I will just comprise it in a little poem. As vertebrates climbed the ladder of evolution towards the goal of perfection, brain enlarged for better cognition, jaws lost many a function, size suffered a gradual reduction, and aimed for the divine proportion. The seat of spatial sensory reception, face moves the fine human expression. On this evolutionary bargain, unique smile was the ultimate gain. Now consider the proportions. What I have done is that the size difference between the proportion between the cranium and the face has been taken, and I have just calculated it, and then the proportion, I just wanted to calculate the proportion between the brain, the cranium, and the face, and how during the evolution, how it has become more and more towards the golden proportion. That is what I want to say. A comparison between this and this. See, I'll just give you a chart. As I told you, somewhere around 3 million years ago, Africanus, that is the Lucy, that is the one which we consider our greatest grandmother. From there onwards, we had somewhere around 6-7 species. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, including Africanus, 7 species. That is almost 500,000 years, which is a take. 500,000 years, there used to be a species. And that is our, look at here, the angle MNI, that is the protrusion of the maxillary protrusion, is 86 degrees, and that has come down in the Homo sapiens of 73. That is the prominence maxilla. The upper jaw prominence has reduced. And angle MNB is the prominence of the mandible. From 73, it has come to almost 61. This is very interesting. That the angle FB is the frontal bone prominence, frontal bossing. That is FB. That is 34 degree was the bossing. That is the angulation from the straight to this angulation. 34, that was slanting. For our pre-human forms, it was slanting because the prominence of the frontal bone was not there, or the prefrontal cortex has not developed that much, which is supposed to be the seat of intelligence. From 34, it has almost doubled, that it has become 62. The other one, it has gone only 10, 12 degrees, but here it has gone to almost 62 degrees. So how the brain has increased such fast in that for Bosei, actually it has reduced from there, here, from habilis to ergaster and rectus, it has increased to almost 62, it has become. And again, the proportion of the cranium and the face, it has become 0.63 to 1.21 on the lateral side, from looking from the lateral. It should have been 1.618, then only we become really beautiful. And from the front view, 0.26, this proportion and this proportion is taken. The other one is on the side. And when it is from 0.26 to 0.57, we have not reached 0.6188. Now let us look at it. The brain volume here from 420 to 1,450. Neanderthals, it is almost 1,600. I said that, they had a much larger brain than us. Well, this is where the golden proportion is at, is 1.618. We are somewhere around here, that is Homo sapiens. We are here, that is 1.21. And for this one, 0.57, that is where Homo sapiens, we are here, 0.57. And to reach 1.6, in the same way, if it is going in the same way, it takes another 1 million years, two more. 1 million years, as we are seeing that, we may take another two more species is required. So can I name the first one as Homo sapiens super? Because Superman is a concept of niche. And Homo sapiens divine, because I was wanted to divine the divine proportion here. So we call it Homo sapiens divine. By that time, probably our brain case would have become somewhere around 2000. The only thing is that whether our food habits should be able to cater to such a large brain. Now, this is the development of which I already discussed this, how the prominence of the maxilla, prominence of the mandible has come down, how the prominence of the brain has gone up to almost doubled. Neoteny in action, that is, this will be the Homo sapien in the future. The large head, oval face, large eyes, small nose, full lips, and tapering chin. All these things, she looks very beautiful. And this may be the appearance of a Homo sapiens divine. After 1 million years, we may look like that. But I doubt, because our eugenics, artificial intelligence, technological advances, nanotechnology, etc., may probably is going to change the man in a totally different way. The question is, do we ever reach perfection? Well, there is a little controversy what the purpose of evolution is. Sometimes I feel that there is an urge for perfection in the evolutionary process. I've got reasons, but I'm not trying to explain it here. Actually, Charles Darwin didn't believe in it, but Wallace believed in it. Huxley believed in it. Many people believe that there is some urge in the inner urge for evolution to perfection. Aurobindo is one sage, an Indian sage, who lived in Pondicherry, who had an ashrama there. He's a person who has said that there is an inner urge not in a living being, but in a matter itself for a perfection. And that is the reason why life has emerged from matter. And from the matter, it is emerging, progressing, and ultimately we will go into a noosphere, which is a spiritual life. That is what he says. Let me just consider this. Is there any chance for us? The war between nations, the strife between religions, the fight between races, molesting nature with atomic waste, hindering her plan by eugenics, suffocating her with pollution. Are we on the path of self-inflicted extinction? Are we selfish or are we foolish? We know that we had somewhere around 5 extinction events in the history of the planet. Now, many people, many scientists say that we are almost at the gateway, or we have almost entered this extinction event. Extinction event which is happening, it's not just in an overnight, but it happens in slowly. And this extinction event is almost there. That is what many scientists say. Dinosaurs ruled the world for about 4 million years to get extinct by nature's wrath. We are here for just 100,000 years. Are we on the path of self-inflicted extinction? Are we selfish or are we foolish? The future species, if any, may call us Homo stupid. Tagore's Gitanjali begins this: Thou hast made me endless. This frail vessel thou emptiest again and again and fillest it ever with fresh light. Well, my dear friends, this is a book which I have written somewhere around a few years ago. And this particular lecture which I have given is something like a little bit of a brief summary of this book? Well, this book is available in Amazon. The name of the book is Homo Sapiens Divine. This is a short history of the humans, face, beauty, and brain. Thank you very much.